The observatory screens showed the same horrifying truth for the third consecutive cycle. Elder Thane stood motionless before the holographic display, his 4 eyes reflecting the crimson wave that consumed everything in its path. Stars simply ceased to exist where the phenomenon touched them, collapsing into nothing, leaving not even black holes behind, just empty void where matter had been moments before. How many systems this time? Thane's voice carried the weight of 600 years, though his species typically lived twice that long. He would not see such age now. None of them would. Officer Myra Cass consulted her datapad, her secondary arms trembling slightly. 17 star systems in the past rotation alone. The wave accelerates as it consumes more space. Our mathematicians estimate we have 40 standard rotations before it reaches the Coalition's core worlds. 40 rotations. Approximately 60 Earth days, though Thane had never heard of Earth or cared to learn about the primitive species inhabiting that distant rock. His people, the Corvati, had built civilizations when most of the galaxy was still cooling cosmic dust. The Coalition represented 14 species, hundreds of worlds, and trillions of souls. They had survived wars, plagues, and cosmic disasters for millions of years. This time felt different. This time, their greatest minds had no answers. The Council awaits your decision, Elder, Myra said quietly. Thane turned from the display. Behind him, the Coalition's most brilliant scientists, philosophers, and engineers sat in tiered seating around the circular chamber. They had debated for cycles, running simulation after simulation. Every conventional approach failed. The dark energy wave was not a weapon they could fight or a natural disaster they could avoid. It was reality itself unraveling, and their understanding of physics offered no solution. We send the transmission, Thane announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. To all civilizations, all species, all corners of known space. We share our data, our findings, everything we have learned. Perhaps somewhere, someone possesses knowledge we lack. Elder, Myra began carefully, many Coalition members consider this beneath our dignity. We are the ancients, the learned, the dying, Thane interrupted. Pride means nothing to Extinction. Send it. The transmission launched within the hour, a desperate plea encoded with centuries of scientific data, mathematical models, and one simple message translated into every known language: help us understand what we cannot. Across the galaxy, the signal spread like ripples in dark water. Most species lacked the technology to even receive it. Others dismissed it as impossible. Surely the ancient Coalition could solve their own problems. But in a small laboratory on Earth, Dr. Sienna Vex was running an experiment that should not have worked. Her team had been testing quantum entanglement across impossible distances, trying to achieve communication faster than light through methods that violated every established principle of physics. The equipment was cobbled together from university surplus and crowd-funded components. Sienna's colleagues thought she was wasting her career on fringe science. When the alien transmission intersected with her quantum field, it didn't arrive as expected. It arrived everywhere simultaneously, imprinting itself directly into her experimental apparatus. Sienna stared at her screens as alien symbols cascaded across them, followed by universal mathematical notation she could actually comprehend. "Oh my God," she whispered, reaching for her phone with shaking hands. "We're not alone. And they're all about to die." She scrolled through the data, her mind racing. The dark energy wave, the collapsing physics, the elegant alien theories that led nowhere. Then she saw something they had missed, something so obvious from a human perspective that she laughed, a slightly hysterical sound in the empty lab. The aliens were trying to understand the phenomenon. Humans would simply try to break it. Within hours, Sienna's discovery reached officials who actually listened. Within days, humanity's response began forming. They didn't have elegant ships or advanced technology. They had duct tape, determination, and a species-wide habit of treating the impossible as merely inconvenient. The message they sent back to the dying Coalition was brief: we see your problem. We have an idea. It's stupid. It might work. We're coming. Elder Thane read the human response 3 times, certain the translation had failed. These were the primitives who had barely achieved crude spaceflight, whose civilization was younger than some of his personal artifacts. Yet something in their message sparked a feeling he thought had died, hope, however irrational. "Myra," he said slowly, "prepare to receive the humans. And tell the Council to brace themselves. I suspect our understanding of the universe is about to become far more complicated." The human vessels emerged from their makeshift jump points like mechanical nightmares held together by optimism and spite. Captain Jonas Reeves stood on the bridge of the lead ship, defiant prospect, watching as his fleet of 17 vessels coasted toward the massive alien coalition armada. Their ships gleamed with elegant curves and bioluminescent panels that pulsed like living things. His ships looked like flying junkyards. "Captain, we're receiving multiple scans from the alien fleet," his communications officer reported. "I think they're trying to figure out how we're still in one piece." Jonas allowed himself a grim smile. "So am I, Lieutenant. So am I." Dr. Marcus Pell burst onto the bridge, his gray hair standing in wild directions, carrying 3 tablets and a coffee mug that proclaimed physics is my cardio. "Jonas, you need to see the latest readings on the wave. It's even worse than the aliens thought. The collapse cascade is exponential, and," he paused, noticing the alien ships through the viewport. "Oh wow, those are beautiful. Ours look like we built them in someone's garage." "We did build them in someone's garage, Marcus. Several garages, actually, and a repurposed aircraft hangar." Among the coalition fleet, Zara Ven pressed herself against the observation window of the Corvati flagship, watching the human ships with fascination. She was young for a Corvati, barely 80 years old, and still possessed the curiosity that her elders had long since replaced with certainty. The human vessels defied every principle of elegant engineering she'd been taught. They used chemical propulsion in sections where matter-antimatter would be far more efficient, she murmured to herself, running calculations on her datapad. Their hull integrity reads at barely 70% standard safety margins. Their power distribution is chaotic, asymmetric, and somehow functional despite violating 3 fundamental theorems of energy conservation. "They are barbarians," Officer Myra Cass said from behind her, making Zara jump. "Elder Thane wastes our final days entertaining primitive solutions." "Or," Zara countered quietly, "they see solutions we've been trained not to consider." The first meeting took place on neutral ground, a hastily assembled station floating between both fleets. Elder Thane entered the conference chamber with Myra and a dozen coalition representatives from various species. The humans were already there, and Thane stopped short at the sight of them. Captain Jonas Reeve sat casually in a chair designed for species twice his size, boots propped on the table, studying a holographic projection of the dark energy wave. Dr. Marcus Pell was literally taking apart one of the coalition's data terminals with tools that looked primitive even by early industrial standards. 3 other humans were arguing loudly about something called reverse polarity while gesturing at equations scrawled on what appeared to be actual paper. "Apologies for our informality," Jonas said, not sounding apologetic at all as he swung his feet down. "We've been reviewing your data during the journey. It's thorough. Well-reasoned. Completely wrong approach, but thorough." Thane felt Myra stiffen beside him. "Wrong?" the officer demanded. "Our greatest minds have analyzed." "Your greatest minds are trying to understand the wave," Marcus interrupted, not looking up from the dismantled terminal. "That's your first mistake. You can't understand it because it's fundamentally a breakdown of understandable physics. It's chaos expressing itself as a physical force." He finally looked up, grinning. "But chaos can be redirected." Zara leaned forward despite herself. "Explain." Marcus's eyes lit up. Finally, someone asking the right question. He tossed aside the terminal components and called up a new projection. "Your species, all of you, you've spent millions of years refining your understanding of how the universe works. You've found elegant mathematical frameworks, unified theories, beautiful models of reality. Right?" Thane nodded slowly. "This is the foundation of all advanced civilizations." "Yeah, well, humans skipped that part," Jonas interjected. "We've got maybe 20 different competing theories about how physics works, half of them contradict each other, and we use whichever one is most convenient for whatever we're trying to do at the time." "That's intellectually dishonest," Myra protested. "That's pragmatism," Jonas corrected. "Marcus, show them the plan." What Marcus displayed made every alien in the room recoil. The projection showed the dark energy wave, but surrounding it was a network of what could only be described as controlled explosions, timed detonations of exotic matter, and deliberate tears in space-time arranged in a pattern that had no mathematical elegance whatsoever. "You want to punch the wave?" Zara asked, incredulous. "More like give it cosmic indigestion," Marcus replied cheerfully. "See, the wave propagates through orderly space-time. It's unraveling reality in a specific direction, following the path of least resistance through the fabric of space. We're going to make that path as resistant as possible. By creating more chaos," Thane said slowly, beginning to understand. "Exactly. We seed the space ahead of the wave with quantum instabilities, matter-antimatter fluctuations, and microsingularities. Not enough to cause permanent damage, but enough to make the wave expend exponentially more energy trying to maintain its propagation. It'll slow, weaken, and eventually dissipate its coherence. The mathematics alone would take centuries to perfect, one of the coalition scientists protested. Marcus laughed. We're not using mathematics. Well, not elegant ones anyway. We're using approximations, best guesses, and a lot of trial and error. We've already built the devices. They're crude, they're dangerous, and based on simulations, they've got about a 40% chance of working. 40%. Myra looked horrified. Better than the 0% you've got now, Jonas pointed out. Look, we know this sounds insane by your standards. But humanity's entire history is solving impossible problems with stupid solutions that shouldn't work but somehow do. We didn't achieve spaceflight through elegant physics, we strapped ourselves to controlled explosions and hoped for the best. That's kind of our thing. Zara found herself nodding. There was a mad logic to it, a brute force approach that circumvented the need for perfect understanding. The coalition had been trying to compose a symphony when they needed to throw a brick through a window. Elder Thane looked at the chaotic projection, then at the confident, slightly insane humans before him. His species had survived millions of years through wisdom and careful thought. These humans proposed to save them through recklessness and creative ignorance. 40%, he repeated quietly. 42 if we're being precise, Marcus corrected. 53 if we get really lucky with quantum fluctuations. Thane straightened, his ancient bones creaking. Officer Kess, relay to all coalition vessels. We will provide the humans with whatever resources they require. Scientist Venn, you will work directly with Dr. Pell to facilitate understanding between our peoples. Elder, this is madness, Myra began. Yes, Thane agreed. But it is our only madness. And perhaps that is precisely what this situation requires, a touch of beautiful, chaotic insanity from a species too young to know what's impossible. Jonas stood and extended his hand in the human gesture. Then let's get to work. We've got a universe to save, and not much time to do it in. As Thane clasped the human's hand, feeling the strange warmth and roughness so different from Korvati physiology, he thought of all the civilizations depending on this moment. Wisdom had failed them. Perhaps foolishness would succeed. The galaxy's oldest species had just placed their survival in the hands of its most reckless children. Time would tell if that was the wisest decision they'd ever made, or their final, fatal mistake. Commander Rhea Stone had seen many impossible things in her 30 years of military service, but nothing compared to watching 14 ancient alien species follow human instructions on how to deploy weapons that violated their fundamental understanding of reality. From the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, she coordinated a fleet operation that would have been considered suicidal if there had been any other option. Status report, she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding across every screen. Deployment Zone 7 is complete, Lieutenant Torres reported. The Korvati engineers are still questioning the structural integrity, but they've positioned the quantum disruptors as requested. Zone 12 is having issues. The Vreldian ships refuse to approach within 10,000 kilometers of the exotic matter containers. Rhea rubbed her temples. Tell them the containers won't explode unless we trigger them deliberately. Probably. That's what concerns them, Commander. Through the observation window, space itself looked wrong. Hundreds of devices, built in desperate haste using combined human and alien technology, floated in a massive spherical formation. Each one was a bomb, essentially, designed to tear small, controlled holes in spacetime. The aliens called it barbaric. The humans called it Tuesday. Dr. Marcus Pell's voice crackled through her communicator. Rhea, we need to accelerate the timeline. The wave just consumed the Helix Nebula, 3 days ahead of projections. We've got maybe 18 hours before it reaches the deployment zone. Understood. How's our success probability looking? A pause. 47%. Better than yesterday. And if it fails? Then we've created a lot of expensive fireworks before the universe ends. But hey, at least we tried. Rhea smiled despite the stakes. That was so perfectly human, defiance in the face of oblivion. Keep me posted, Marcus. Stone out. On the Korvati flagship, Elder Thane stood beside Zara Venn as she worked frantically at a human-designed interface. Over the past weeks, the young scientist had become the bridge between two incompatible ways of thinking. She understood coalition precision but was learning to appreciate human chaos. The synchronization needs to be perfect, Zara muttered, adjusting timing sequences. If even 3% of the devices fire out of sequence, the cascade effect will fail. Can the humans maintain such precision? Thane asked quietly. Zara laughed, a sound that contained equal parts stress and amazement. Elder, they shouldn't be able to maintain any of this. Their calculations include something called fudge factors and educated guesses. Half their equipment is held together with a substance they call duct tape. Yet somehow, impossibly, it functions. Through the window, they could see human engineers in EVA suits literally hammering on one of the deployment devices. Zara had stopped questioning such methods after watching them successfully repair a failing reactor by, in their words, percussive maintenance. Officer Myra Kess entered the observation deck, her expression grim. Elder, long-range sensors confirm it. The wave has entered visual range. We can see it now. They turned to the main viewport, and even Thane, who had lived through 6 centuries of wonders and horrors, felt his breath catch. The edge of the dark energy wave was visible as an absolute absence, not darkness, but a negation of existence itself. Stars simply stopped where it touched them. No explosion, no collapse, just instant transition from being to unbeing. It's beautiful, Zara whispered, then caught herself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. No, Thane said softly. You're right. Entropy always is. He touched the communication panel. This is Elder Thane to all coalition vessels. The moment approaches. Whatever happens next, know that we face it together, and with unexpected allies who taught us that wisdom sometimes means embracing madness. Aboard the Resolute Dawn, Rhea watched the waves approach with calculated calm. Around her, the bridge crew worked with focused intensity. No panic, no despair, just professional determination to execute their roles perfectly. All deployment zones confirm ready status, Torres reported. Human and alien vessels in position. Civilian ships have evacuated to minimum safe distance. He paused. Commander, there's no minimum safe distance if this fails. Then we'd better not fail, Lieutenant. Captain Jonas Reeve appeared on her screen from his position aboard the Defiant Prospect, positioned dangerously close to the wave's edge. Rhea, we're reading some weird fluctuations in the wave's leading edge. Marcus thinks it might be reacting to our equipment already. Is that good or bad? Yes, Jonas replied unhelpfully. Look, we're about to commit to a plan that involves punching holes in reality to stop reality from unraveling. The line between good and bad got pretty blurry a few weeks ago. Despite everything, Rhea smiled. Fair point. All ships, stand by for my mark. Across the massive formation, thousands of beings from dozens of species held their breath. Ancient Korvati elders clasped hands with human engineers they'd met weeks ago. Zara Ven stood beside Dr. Marcus Pell, their datapad synced, ready to make real-time adjustments. In the civilian evacuation fleet, a young Korvati child named Kale Dawn pressed his face against a viewport, watching the lights of the deployment grid with wide eyes. Mama, are the humans going to save us? He asked. His mother held him close, one hand on his head, the other on her heart. They're going to try, little spark. They're going to try. The dark energy wave advanced, an unstoppable wall of unraveling physics now less than 1 million kilometers from the deployment zone. Rhea's tactical display showed the precise moment of optimal detonation, a window of exactly 43 seconds where the wave's interaction with normal spacetime created the conditions they needed. 30 seconds to firing window, Torres announced. Rhea opened a channel to all vessels, human and alien alike. This is Commander Stone. In a few moments, we're going to do something that every law of physics says is impossible. We're going to make the universe too stubborn to die. Humanity has faced extinction a dozen times in our short history. Climate collapse, nuclear weapons, asteroid impacts, plagues. Every time, we looked at certain doom and said not today. We're extending that courtesy to the rest of the galaxy now. 15 seconds. The ancient civilizations gave us science, philosophy, and wisdom. We're giving you something in return, the knowledge that elegance isn't always the answer. Sometimes you need to fight dirty. Sometimes you need to break the rules. Sometimes the only way forward is through. 10 seconds. 9. 8. Rhea's finger hovered over the firing control. Around the fleet, thousands of others did the same, human and alien hands poised together. 3. 2. 1. Mark. The universe screamed. Across the deployment zone, quantum disruptors fired simultaneously, tearing controlled rifts in spacetime. Exotic matter detonated in precisely timed sequences, creating cascading waves of fundamental force interactions. Microsingularities bloomed and collapsed in nanoseconds, each one a tiny wound in reality that healed even as it formed. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Space between the deployment grid and the dark energy wave became visible chaos, rippling, fracturing, reforming in patterns that hurt to observe. Colors that didn't exist in normal spectra flickered through the void. The sensors on every ship screamed contradictory readings as physics itself became negotiable. The dark energy wave hit the disruption field like a tsunami striking a reef. For a horrible moment, nothing happened. The wave simply consumed the chaos, unraveling the controlled disorder as easily as it had unraveled ordered space. "It's not working," Myra Kess breathed, watching from the Corvati flagship. "Wait," Zara said, eyes locked on her screens. "Look at the propagation speed. It's decreased by 0.03%. That's nothing." "It's not nothing, it's resistance." Marcus Pell shouted from his station. "Rear, trigger sequence 2. Now." Rear didn't hesitate. "All ships, sequence 2, firing now." A second wave of detonations rippled through the disruption field, these ones creating even more violent spacetime distortions. The human-designed weapons weren't elegant, they were brute force incarnate, hammering at the wave's coherence with raw, chaotic energy. The dark energy wave shuddered. It was impossible to see with human eyes, but every sensor across both fleets registered it, a fluctuation in the wave's previously perfect uniformity. A hesitation in its absolute advance. "Propagation speed down 0.2%, Zara reported, her voice rising with impossible hope. 0.5%. 1%. "It's working," Thane whispered. "By all the ancient stars, the mad human plan is actually working." But the wave adapted. Its leading edge began to flow around the disruption field, seeking paths of least resistance, trying to circumvent the chaos humans had created. Jonas saw it first from his forward position. "Commander, it's finding gaps in our grid. We need more coverage." "We've deployed everything," Rhea responded, her mind racing through options. "Unless," she looked at her navigation officer. "Lieutenant, how close can we safely move the fleet vessels?" "Commander, you can't mean. If we position our ships to fill the gaps, use our own drive systems to create additional disruption fields. Our shields won't hold." Torres protested. "The feedback from that kind of spatial distortion will tear apart." "Then we better build them tough," Rhea interrupted. She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All human vessels, this is Stone. I need volunteers to fill grid positions 7, 14, 21, and 33. Your ships will take severe damage. You might not survive. But neither will anyone else if that wave gets through." Silence for 3 heartbeats. Then Jonas's voice, steady and sure, defiant prospect moving to position 7. "Guardian's Reach, position 14, another captain reported. Fearless Endeavor, 21. Stubborn Mercy, 33. Within minutes, 4 human vessels positioned themselves directly in the wave's path, their drives pushed far beyond safety limits, creating additional chaos fields from their own systems. The strain was immediate, hull plating buckled, shields flickered, warning alarms screamed across every deck. But it worked. The dark energy wave, confronted with a wall of overlapping chaos that extended in every direction, could not find a path forward. It pushed against the barrier, trying to unravel the disorder, but disorder by definition could not be unraveled, it was already the absence of order. "Propagation speed down 15%, Zara reported, her voice shaking. 20%. 30. The wave began to distort, its perfect uniformity breaking apart as different sections encountered different levels of resistance. Some areas slowed more than others. The coherent front fragmented into fingers of advancing destruction that no longer supported each other's propagation. "It's destabilizing," Marcus shouted triumphantly. "The wave needs coherent spacetime to maintain its own coherence. We're feeding it incoherence, and it's choking on it." Elder Thane watched in amazement as the impossible unfolded before him. The dark energy wave, which had consumed hundreds of star systems without pause, was falling apart against human stubbornness manifested as physics-breaking technology. Propagation speed down 70%. 80. 90. The wave's advance slowed to a crawl, then stopped entirely. For a frozen moment, the universe held its breath. Then, like a tide reversing, the dark energy began to dissipate, its coherent structure completely broken. The leading edge faded, then dissolved, then simply ceased to exist. Silence fell across both fleets. Every screen showed the same impossible truth, empty space ahead of them. No wave. No unraveling. Just normal, stable space-time stretching away into the distant stars. Status report, Rhea said quietly into the stunned silence. The wave is gone, Torres reported, his voice filled with wonder. Sensors show normal space-time in all directions. Surrounding star systems stable. The threat has been neutralized. A cheer erupted across every human vessel. On the alien ships, the response was more subdued but no less profound. Beings who had prepared for death now faced the shocking reality of survival. In the civilian fleet, young Kale Dawn jumped up and down, laughing with pure joy. "Mama! The humans did it. They saved everyone." His mother was crying, holding him tight. Around them, thousands of aliens embraced, their various forms and species united in gratitude and relief. On the Corvati flagship, Elder Thane turned to Zara, who was staring at her screens as if they might disappear if she looked away. "How?" he asked simply. "How did that work?" Zara laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "I have absolutely no idea. The mathematics don't support it. The physics is nonsense. By every principle we know, this should have failed catastrophically." She looked up at him with shining eyes. "But humans don't care what should work. They only care about what does work." Ray's voice came over the communication channel, addressing both fleets. "All ships report status. Damage assessment and casualty reports to follow. And someone please tell me our volunteers survived." "Defiant Prospect here," Jonas reported, his voice strained but alive. "We're beat to hell, half our systems are fried, and I'm pretty sure my ship is now held together mostly by hope and spite. But we're intact." The other 3 ships reported similar status. Heavily damaged, but survivable. No casualties. "Commander Stone," Thane's voice came through clearly. "On behalf of the coalition of elder civilizations, and the trillions of lives you have saved, humanity has our eternal gratitude. You have taught us that there are times when wisdom must bow to will, when understanding must yield to action, and when the elegant solution is simply the one that works." "With respect, Elder Thane," Rhea replied warmly, "you've got that backwards. You gave us the knowledge to understand the problem. We just supplied the stubbornness to solve it. Together, we saved the galaxy. Seems like a pretty good foundation for a partnership." In the weeks that followed, as fleets returned to their home worlds and the story of humanity's impossible victory spread across the stars, the galaxy changed. The ancient civilizations, humbled but not diminished, opened their archives to human scientists. In return, humans shared their unconventional approaches, their willingness to try stupid solutions, their refusal to accept any problem as truly unsolvable. Zara Venn became the first alien to attend Earth's newly formed Institute of Applied Chaos, where physics students were now taught that elegance was optional but results were mandatory. Marcus Pell received the Coalition's highest scientific honor, which he placed on his desk next to his Physics is My Cardio mug. And on a small colony world at the edge of Coalition space, a monument was erected. It showed a human and a Corvati, hands clasped, facing outward toward the stars. The inscription, written in both human English and the ancient Corvati script, read simply: "When billions faced extinction, stubbornness became salvation. May we never forget that wisdom and will are stronger together than either could ever be alone." Commander Rhea Stone attended the dedication ceremony, standing beside Elder Thane as they unveiled the monument. The old Corvati leader placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You know," he said quietly, "before you arrived, I believed our greatest achievement was understanding the universe. Now I know that understanding is useless without the courage to change it." Rhea smiled, looking up at the monument. "And we learned that courage without wisdom is just recklessness. Good thing we found each other." "Indeed," Thane agreed. "The galaxy is vast, and full of mysteries we have yet to encounter. I suspect we will need both wisdom and stubbornness in equal measure." "Then it's a good thing," Rhea said, her smile widening, "that humanity's got stubbornness to spare." Above them, in the clear alien sky, stars shone bright and stable, a universe that had been saved not by perfect understanding or elegant solutions, but by the simple, profound refusal to accept the impossible. And somewhere in that vast expanse of light, humanity's makeshift ships and the ancient vessels of a dozen species flew together, exploring the cosmos with the combined confidence of those who knew that any problem, no matter how impossible, could be solved if you were just stubborn enough to try. The galaxy had been saved. And the story of how had become legend, the day billions of aliens braced for extinction, and humanity showed up with duct tape, determination, and the unshakable belief that the universe was just another problem waiting to be solved.